Umezawa's Jite good for the same reason. Maelstrom Pull's not the most efficient thing in the world, but just additional removal is valuable. And the 2 needles may come in to try to slow down both Aether Vial and the equipment.
A Misty Rainforest we sacrificed to begin things here for Jerry Me. I'm going to go get an Underground Sea. I promise I'm not rhyming on purpose. Even though I wish I were.
Yeah.
We'll see if he wants to lead off where. Could be a detention. Excuse me, could be a discard spell. Could be a Deathrite Shaman. We'll see. Looks like it may be Deathrite, and it is.
I would be surprised if much discard was left in Jerry's list post-board.
Shields first draw step, Aether Vial. That's a pretty important one for Dave. And that's where he's going to lead. Passes the turn back over to me, who will take a draw.
And if David kept this hand on the strength of Rashad Port, I think he's going to have a lot of trouble in this game because Jerry with a Deathrite Shaman and I believe a second one as well.
And there's a Dark Confidant. This is an activation of Deathrite. Misty Rainforest is gone. Delver of Secrets is here.
This is a really great opening here for Jerry. David only has so much creature removal in his list, and almost all 3 of those creatures warrant a response.
The Vial ticks up to 1. Shields will draw a card. It's a copy of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. See how Shields wants to continue moving forward here. Does have a Stoneforge Mystic in the hand. Quite a powerful card. Flicker Wisp as well.
It almost feels like David just can't commit the Stoneforge Mystic to the board because if it gets killed, he doesn't have a lot left over to play with.
Yeah.
Might try to get fancy with Aether Vial here.
There's a port. This is a Stoneforge. I think the thought process here might be, if he doesn't have a way to kill the Stoneforge right away, we are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it gives him a shot. I mean, maybe he has to try to cross his fingers here given the strength of Jerry's draw.
Also depends on what he searches up, right? Like if he searches up a Batterskull, then that thing dying is a problem. If he searches up a Jite, it's actually okay, I think. But of course, Jite can be taken care of by Abrupt Decay, so there's a real cost to what Shields does choose to search up here. He's going to go with Jite. Before passing the turn back over to me, you've got a Delver trigger. You've got a miss. Verdant Catacombs is what Dark Confidant will show. And then me will draw for his turn. He will add an Underground Seed to his hand. And you do see an Abrupt Decay. You also see a Stifle over there as well. And there's a fetch land to feed Deathrite Shaman.
Some good action here for Jerry. I mean, he has the removal spell. That's the most important thing for him right now.
I don't think I'd be unhappy if I was Jerry. Pretty good hand right now. Pretty good start, too.
Yeah. No, these kind of utility creatures are very valuable against Death and Taxes because, again, they're not really flooded with creature removal. And Dark Confidant especially is a good tool.
Looks like me going to play a Deathrite Shaman and simply pass the turn back. Saying I'd much rather save this Abrupt Decay for the Jite than care about your Stoneforge Mystic, which, ironically enough, is blocking the road.
Well, for the time being. I mean, Jerry can sit back, draw a bunch of cards with Dark Confidant, eventually flip this Delver, and start going from there.
Shields looking at a Jite. He's got another port over there. A Rising Canopy, a Plains. His Vial is on 2, so Thalia can be slid in through that. Couple copies of Flicker Wisp here for Shields. Currently up a game with Death and Taxes. Just going to pass the turn back over to me, who will look at the top card. It's a Verdant Catacombs again. So no Delver flip, but no damage from Dark Confidant. And now Crozan Grip is the draw.
Crozan Grip is great here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he necessarily wants to just tag the Vial straight away, but
kind of blow it if he did, since Shields is planning on actually using the Vial to put a Thalia in. So,
well, he needs to leave himself with enough mana left over to be able to Abrupt Decay. So he needs a fetch land really to make sure that this is safe, and we know that he has that from the Dark Confidant. So
he's doing just fine. Access to 5, actually 6 mana this turn with the 2 active Deathrites, the 2 fetch lands in play, and then the 2 Underground Seas. Mana, no problem here for Jerry. The question is, how does he want to progress?
Not often you see split second be that meaningful in scenarios that don't involve counter spells, but this could be one of them.
Oh, we're going to Violent Stoneforge.
So maybe Jerry just wants to save these grips and Abrupt Decays just to fight over equipment.
Maybe it makes no sense to go after Vials.
It
is a pretty good card, though.
It's so dangerous to let Death and Taxes play at instant speed. So many more of these creatures become considerably more obnoxious when they're coming out at the end of your turn or in the middle of combat.
Search for a tropical island with the Verdant Catacombs will me. Going to go down to 18 to do that. Graveyard's relatively empty at this point in the game. Me will also sacrifice the other Verdant Catacombs, go down to 17. See what Lanny wants to search up with this one. He'll go with another Trop. So 2 undergrounds, 2 Trops, 2 lands in the graveyard. Deathrite with some fuel. It looks like he has some intentions in casting a spell here. And it looks like it's going to be a Stifle in the Stoneforge. And it is. So no trigger right now for Shiels.
And this is a pretty good cash in. I mean, the Stifle's not doing a whole lot much else this game, it feels like.
Yeah, not sure how much better that card's going to get. See, Shiels prepared to put a GT in here with the Stoneforge. Yeah, on the active one, just for clarification. So if one is summoning sick, one isn't. So GT is going to come in. So Stifle the other one.
But Jerry with really the ability to defend himself from this equipment.
The equipment's not much of a problem at all.
Yeah.
Between Abrupt Decay and Corrosion Grip, GT doesn't matter at all. If you're Jerry, you kind of want to trap him into equipping.
Yeah. But I think Shiels is crafty enough to know that in these spots where Jerry has access to mana, that's something on the radar.
One thing David does very well, I've known him for a long time, he's very good at sensing when an opponent has strength and when they have weakness.
Mm-hmm.
He's very deliberate in his play. He thinks things through. You never see him play a turn quickly. I can tell you that much. He'll think through all the options.
Well, generally speaking, you know, when you change your pace of play a lot based on how easy your decisions are or how strong you think your hand is, you are giving away information to perceptive opponents.
Mm-hmm. Looks like he's going to go equipping. Don't know if this means he's attacking, but he is certainly equipping. We're going to have a response here. The question is, will it be the grip or will it be the decay?
I think a really sweet play that Jerry potentially had access to was allowing Shields to attack, Crozan gripping the Vial, Abrupt Decaying the Jitte, or he's doing it, I guess, before combat.
Yeah, this play's still here. Shields gonna look at his hand, but no response allowed. That'll complicate things too, because he was really reliant on that Vial. But I saw what you saw as well. If he lets the attack happen, you grip the Vial before blocks, so no Flicker Wisp tricks. Then you Abrupt Decay the Jitte, and then you can double block with the Shamans.
Yeah.
Well, in a different order, but you have to block with the Shamans, and then you can Abrupt Decay the Jitte if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I would have waited until being inside of combat, but it's not clear to me how much it really would have mattered here, because you just get a 1-2 off the table, which is nice, but not a huge deal.
Removal of lands? Uh-oh. That's not going to work. Because
No, that was in response.
Is that response? I thought,
yeah.
okay, then that's fine. That's fine. That could have gotten really bad.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The way that the timing looked on that. So, Dark Confidant and a Delver trigger. Wow, he can't hit with Delver.
Unbelievable. Because this game gets open wide if Jerry's able to flip this Delver and start attacking.
Shields like 11 if this flipped on time.
I mean, Jerry's got nothing to complain about here. He's still got a lot of pressure and play with just those Deathrite Shamans, if nothing else.
Gonna fire away at a ghost quarter there with the Wasteland. Now another Deathrite Shaman. And all me can do, I believe, is just pass the turn back, waiting to hopefully flip with Delver and draw more cards with Bob. He's got 5 very good creatures in play, though. Shiels will take a draw. It's another copy of Thalia. That one doesn't matter too much.
And now David just doesn't have any sort of lock going on. There's no synergy between his permanents. There's nothing interlocking. He just has some 1/2s and 2/1s in play. And Jerry's starting to bury him.
This is a Horizon Canopy. The follow-up is going to be the first of what looks like multiple Flicker Wisp. So now that's going to trigger. The question is, what is Shields going to target with Flicker Wisp?
He can target his own land to either port or use Horizon Canopy, or a Stoneforge Mystic if he has another piece of equipment left in the deck.
So you see removal there of a couple of sorceries, an instance, so Deathrite deals more damage. Now Wisp is going to target Stoneforge. Stoneforge will go away, it'll come back, and new equipment will come with it. Thalia? Yeah, Thalia can safely attack.
Yeah, David drew another Thalia this turn, so I'm pretty sure he's thrilled to trade it with any permanent that Jerry has.
Now Stoneforge comes in, and Shields going to go searching for equipment. Again, if you're Shields, you're just worried about what's on the top of the deck. Me can't miss forever.
Yeah.
That's the big thing here.
So I imagine that Shields is now debating between his sword and his Batterskull here. And is going with Batterskull.
That card can take over the game. Take a look. Misty Rainforest. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. He can't flip a Delver. It's crazy.
You can't even find a cantrip to set it up.
No, it's absolutely crazy. Dark Confidant and the Fetch Land were the cards that me found. You see he's holding an Underground Sea too. So he could play another Dark Confidant if he likes. It's hard to say no, really.
Well, it starts to get a little hairy here, right? I mean, Flicker Wisp starts hitting in the air. It's 2 Dark Confidants. There's really not a lot of creatures for Deathrite Shaman to eat. I guess he has to cast it at this stage, but again, things are getting a little hairy here. And Jerry's opening was so commanding. But that Delver has just been a Merfolk of the Pearl Trident so far this game, so David is still in it.
All right, Shield's gonna untap. Time to take a draw. Swords to Plowshares. Could be a useful removal spell here, even though it will cost 1 more mana. Shield's gonna assess the situation here. And you see 3 Deathrites, a Delver Secrets that has just been unable to flip. And then 2 copies of Dark Confidant on the lower side of the screen. Good place to start is in the air. Shield's going to come across for 3. Me's going to go down to 12. Shields with a port to play, if he'd like.
And Batterskull is all sorts of trouble for Bug Delver.
Yes.
Clearly outside of Abrupt Decay range, Disfigure offers no protection.
Looks like Shields has interest in getting this into play right now. Make sure no funny stuff happens.
Yeah, Jerry's already shown Stifle,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Now Shields will play that port. There is that token. David putting it face down as he is pretty good friends with Brian Bronduin. Sorry, Dave. We got to see his beautiful face.
And this is an interesting spot for Dave, where he's kind of happy with Dark Confidence being in play for Jerry, even though it's somewhat dangerous. And he's probably better served saving Swords of Plowshares as a combat trick to mess up blocks than anything else.
I can see him also using it just to clear out Delver once it eventually flips.
Yeah.
I imagine that it will. Take a look. Wow. Round of applause. A brainstorm.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Nice of you to finally join us.
It's the best way to flip, too. He'll take 1. Next trigger. He'll take 3. I can see why he may have wanted to leave those bobs alone.
Yeah, it's sort of the, you make your deal with the devil here.
Yep.
Dark Confidant's dangerous, and it can potentially add a lot of power to Jerry's hand, but using a plow on one of them and allowing him to keep another just doesn't make very much sense. At that point, especially when you're applying pressure, you're probably better served by just leaving them in play and hoping you can squeeze out the last couple points of damage.
Well, Jerry with a lot of options in his hand now, so I imagine this turn got a lot more difficult. He has a Brainstorm, he has a Ponder, and a True Name. Those are the 3 new cards he found. Now, a Ponder will cost 1 more because of Thalia, so that's actually what makes this super difficult. Is the mana's going to get tied up. He can't do a ton of things in 1 turn. He can do a pretty decent amount, but he can't go crazy.
And he has to be very careful about how he taps his mana as well, because colored mana is now an issue.
Absolutely. So taking a look at a couple cards there, I believe the 4th Deathrite, a Stifle, and a Mystery card. He's happy with what he's found. See what else he wants to deploy. He hasn't played a land yet. So there's a Misty. Follow-up, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a True Name, and it is. So the Nemesis, yet again here against Shiels, back-to-back matches. We've seen him have to battle against this card that is quite good against Death and Taxes.
Allegedly. Definitely good with equipment.
That's for sure.
I think by itself, it's nothing to write home about.
I think Shiels may be considering tapping something here with the port, maybe cracking the Horizon Canopy.
Well, I think
Could be time to Swords. Yeah.
And maybe he's planning on just moving Batterskull onto the Flicker Wisp and daring Jerry to have his Abrupt Decay or one of his Disfigures right now. He's not shown that he has a lot of removal. You think he probably would have taken care of the Flicker Wisp straight away last turn if he had that opportunity.
I guess the question now is it appropriate for Shiels to move in with Batterskull? How does it affect the clock?
Well, the clock is somewhat hard to suss out completely because the Dark Confidants mucked that up a little bit.
That's just true.
But I think he's just making his push right now, putting Jerry to the test. I think Jerry probably would have used removal last turn if he had it afforded to him. But we'll see.
There's your Stifle.
Okay.
So just no move. A temporary reprieve.
I'm sure Shields is not too upset with this. It's definitely way better than if there was a removal spell for the Flicker Wisp.
Able to attack for 3. Simply pass the turn back. Over to me. Dark Confidant triggers. Number 1 is a True Name.
Shields with a little rubbing of the hands there.
Number 2 is a Deathrite Shaman.
No help either.
Down to 4. Greatness at any cost, they say.
And he's just drawn a Thoughtseize, I believe. Not a lot of help there. Also, there's no more lands in either graveyard, so Deathrites are just 1/2s. They are something resembling Honest Magic cards. And this is just another one of those death and taxes games where you say, how did this happen exactly? What happened here? A lot of it can be chalked up to that Delver not flipping, but
How did I work my way back into this? I
turn
didn't
one,
do anything.
turn one Death Right Shaman, turn two Dark Confidant,
Delver.
no source of plowshares in Dave's hand.
Yep.
And now we're here somehow.
Yeah. I really can't believe it either. It somehow always finds a way.
I wonder if every Death and Taxes opponent is like this at the end of the match, looking at their hand and looking at the board and saying, what the?
Yeah, how did I
Checking their
lose?
pockets, see if their wallet's still there, looking for their car keys. How is this even happening?
Jerry trying to figure out what he can do. Oh, I've seen this attack with
Yeah.
Dark Confidant before. You want to block, right?
The due diligence alpha strike, we've seen this
Yeah.
before. Just making sure.
I'm pretty sure you want to block.
Yeah. I think he's going to take this hit here because he doesn't want to put creatures in the graveyard for the death rights and also just wants Dark Confidant to be in play.
Yeah. I believe I'm with you on that front.
I mean, he's even offering a Dark Confidant into a Batter Skull. It's just a free 4
Yeah,
life. And
just a juicy treat, as it were.
if that isn't a sign of weakness, I do not know what is.
No, but seriously, you want to block.
No, but
Well, no, it looks like he will block. It's hard to pass up that lunch.
yeah, the risk here, because he knows about True Name Nemesis, if he takes this hit, he goes down to 6, and then both True Name Nemesis are lethal next turn on top of whatever Death Right Shaman might do.
Yeah. So it means at the virtual 6 now.
Yeah.
That may not matter, though, because moving Batterskull over to Flickerwist may still just be good enough.
Yep.
And I have to imagine, if that was Shiels' plan last turn, and given the cards that he saw, I could certainly see, that being his plan this turn.
Well, Jerry revealed nothing that can stop it to the Dark Confidants. All the resistance he could offer last turn was Stifle.
Shiels waiting patiently.
I mean, I think Shields right now, if you asked him to bet money on it, would say, I don't think he's got anything.
It's a brainstorm.
Well, that's something.
Better than nothing. Delver. Unsure. Stifle, actually. I believe he's putting back a Probe and a Thoughtseize. Does resolve that.
But the problem here is even if he stifles the Batter Skull here, the Flickerwist knocks him down to 1. And then Dark Confidant finishes him off. I guess now there's a creature in the graveyard that he can eat with Death Right Shaman. So he gets one more crack at it.
We know that Delver will flip, by the way. And again, none of this takes into account what Shields could draw. He's looking at a Thalian Asterion Avenger right now. He will untap. He will draw a card. It's a Sunlance.
And Jared did not play his True Name Nemesis last turn, correct?
That is correct.
So at the minimum, Batter Skull is also free to attack this turn.
If you're Shields, you tread lightly.
Yeah, you still gotta play carefully here. But the fact that, you know, if he was on the fence about whether or not he wanted to move the Batter Skull before, I think now that he has a clean shot with it this turn, makes it much more attractive. I guess he's still gonna just try to go for the kill here.
He says, I have a Stifle again. Shields taking one from the canopy.
Yeah, but even with the Stifle, he still gets a shot at it.
Yeah. Now Shields has decided he wants to attack here.
The rule with equipment, if you're not aware, is that the equipment is never floating around in limbo, moving from one thing to another. It is here, and then the equipment resolves, and then it is there. So the germ stays even if there's a Stifle.
And Thalia's free to attack. I guess in theory, Stoneforges are free too.
It does allow Jerry a double block in front of a Stoneforge for free, but it's not clear if Jerry has the resources left over to do such a thing.
Yeah, I like this attack here. Might be able to get a couple chip shots through. And then Dark Confidant can finish the job. We'll see. Shield says, everybody in. I can't die in the counterattack, so let's do it this way. And put you to the test. Almost an hour into this marathon affair. Only game 2 here as well.
Death and Taxes is not a fast deck.
Not anything close to it.
And Bug Delver can be a fast deck sometimes, but in matchups like this, where it's kind of a creature removal deck, it can also be a lot on the slow side.
I thought it was going to be a fast game, given Jerry's opening. Deathrite and a Dark Confidant plus Delver.
But
We've seen games end like that very fast.
David has just sort of found a way to finagle. I thought when he lost the vial, his equipment got blown up. I thought he was done for, quite honestly.
So here's your blocks.
Some chumps and some bounces.
Gonna sacrifice that Misty. Ooh.
I imagine here he's just getting a green source of mana so he can eat something with one of these Deathrite Chomp.
Well, I believe that's the case, yes. But why I bring that up is because he knew the top of his library. He had put 2 1s back.
Well, he might not be able to even take 1 from this spot. He might just be on, I need to reveal land, then spell. Maybe something happens to my Confidant, or then I need to reveal a land the next turn.
Decisions. You see the activation of Deathrite. Gonna gain 2, removing the Dark Confidant. Me'll go up to 5. We'll see some creatures trade in combat here. Looks like a lot of stuff on Jerry's side. Nothing on Shiels' side will die. You can see a removal there of a Misty. And now, removal of swords. So Shields will take a little bit more. He'll go down to 9. And now first strike damage will take care of the Delver. Regular damage with the Batter Skull. That'll take care of the Deathrite. 3 damage will come across to me. He'll go down to 2. Shields will gain 4. He'll go up to 13. Those Deathrites will bounce off the Stone Forges, but Shields is slowly whittling away the forces.
He still has a lethal Flicker Wisp here. Confidant's still in play on Jerry's side of the table. Jerry may, in fact, need to stack the trigger and remove preemptively with Deathrite to avoid dying to a 2 or a 3.
Yeah. There's 2 creatures down there in the bin, too, so he's got some creatures to remove, and you see he's going to do that right now. Remove a Deathrite. He's going to gain 2, go up to 4. And assuming he has no 4-mana spells in his deck, he's okay. So now there's Bob. That's a Misty, so no damage dealt. Jerry fades that bullet. Abrupt Decay. Pretty good draw.
Well, that gives him a real chance here. I mean, he can Abrupt Decay the Flicker Wisp. He has a second copy of True Name Nemesis. There's a game being played again.
What makes this really tough, too, is that given what Shields has done in the last 2 turns, which is attempt to equip my Batter Skull to Flicker Wisp, if he does that a 3rd time, this is not good for him. You see another copy of Deathrite Shaman, the 4th one for Jerry Me.
Well, Shields might suspect something is up if Jerry again does not deploy the True Name Nemesis.
Confidant. Would you like to eat me for lunch? You think you can pass this up, or do you just take care of it?
I think he takes this hit. Putting a creature in the graveyard is really rough right now.
Such a tough decision. Jeez. Yeah, there's the block. This is what makes Magic great.
Yeah.
Because there's a world that exists that you're not supposed to block there. Even though you're being given for life. All right, Shields is going to untap. He will take a draw. That's another copy of Thalia. That one doesn't matter either. Curious to see what he wants to do with this Sunlance, perhaps. If he wants to cast it at all.
Yeah, not a lot of great targets in play right now. I mean, there's just the Deathrites. I could see him casting it right now if he's intending on going for the kill. And you can see David giving a little bit of a pause here. He may think that with a removal spell, even with, casting the Sunlance, even if Jerry has an Abrupt Decay or something, might not be enough.
There's your shoulder shrug. There's your equip. Now, what's interesting here is, yeah, Jerry's got to let that resolve. There you go. He's got to let that resolve so the token goes away.
Yeah, also influences what David attacks with.
Yeah, that's the important part. And he says, just Flicker Wisp. And just Abrupt Decay. It's going to cost 3, but it's going to get the job done. So there's that.
And Dave, for 3 or 4 turns, was struggling to generate that lethal attack.
Yeah.
Just couldn't quite get it on there. 2 stifles held him off, and now this.
Now he just has to pass the turn back. This is an activation of Death Right. It's going to eat the Flicker Wisp. And he's going to go up to 6. He's slowly working his way back into this one. No more Dark Confidants out there, so he's only going to get to see 1 card a turn now, but we know he has a True Name in his hand, and he's got a True Name in play, and he just picked up a copy of Brainstorm.
But now he can just start doing some offense, defense stuff with True Name Nemesis.
Yep.
So he's 1 on D, starts hitting, uses Death Right Shaman to deal some damage, and then can close out in 1 turn with both of his True Names.
That is True Name. This is an attack. Shields is going to go down to 13.
I mean, Jerry has it all set up at this point. He can activate the 3 Death Right Shamans. That's 6 points of damage, knocking Shields down to 7. There's at least 4 spells in the graveyard. And then both True Names can hit next turn. And just like that, he can be moving on to a 3rd game.
The closing speed is absurd.
Yeah.
Shields going to draw a card. That's a Mother of Runes. Boy, is that late to the party. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
What a comeback here. And from Jerry's opening to Dave's comeback to Jerry finally coming all the way back.
Now Shields is looking over at the life total. I think he's coming to the conclusion that we have here.
Which is somehow, I mean, we know somehow it was Abrupt Decay there on that last draw.
He's looking at his hand, Double Thalia, Sunlance, a Sarah Avenger, a Mother of Runes, freshly drawn. And he's got to pick up the permanents. We're going to play a 3rd one here between me and Shields. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow, what a comeback by Jerry Me. In a game that, again, we thought he was going to win that one relatively easily at the beginning. With the turn 1 Death Right, turn 2 Dark Confidant into Delver of Secrets. Delver never flips. Dark Confidant doesn't reveal a ton of great stuff. But eventually that card advantage was too much to overcome, it looks like.
And Jerry really didn't find any of his noteworthy sideboard cards in that game either. There's another thing you got to be a little concerned of your David there.
He went through a lot of his deck.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, did not find any of those noteworthy sideboard cards
The
like a March
Casualties,
Casualties.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of too. One that could have been a backbreaker there. Did find that Crozen Grip though. That was important.
Yes.
That one was very good on the Vial, and Shields would have got to play a much different game. So now both players are going to go back to the drawing board here, see if they want to change anything. Of course, don't forget, at the conclusion of this match, we'll be announcing the 6-month premium winner. But we'll also see who's going to play against Ross Merriam in the finals.
Yeah. I can tell you who Ross is rooting for right now.
Player on the right. That is for sure. Death and Taxes, a very good matchup. Bug Delver, he's got to work a lot harder to win that one. Great game, too. Wow.
Yeah, so back and forth.
Really, really good second game between these two players. Jeremy is the name that you don't really know in the top 8, but he's your #1 seed, and he proved in that game he certainly belongs.
Yeah. It's very rare you have the game where it goes, player A looks like they can't lose, then player B looks like they can't lose, then player A comes back and wins.
Seems like the only format that happens is this one.
Yep. I mean, it can happen sometimes in Standard with Esper and Blue-White because there's so many powerful cards.
Yeah. You can draw
Supreme
Rev.
Verdict and Rev, you know, Elspeth. There's some dramatic draws. But yeah, by and large, you really only see it in this format.
Shiels will be on the play here. Both players shuffling up. And you see the sideboards on the screen. I don't think much is going to change for either player here. They're both looking at the deck list. You can just Shiels is shaking his head a little bit. Might be a little bit frustrated with himself. But, you know, his behavior just stayed the same. Trying to equip that batter skull to a flicker was to get in that last point of damage. And it was some timely draws on Jerry's part. Stifle, stifle into Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
But you put the cards in the deck so that you can draw them. And that's exactly what he did. And that's why we're moving to a third game.
And you can kind of see Shiels' the look on his face on that last turn where he's just kind of surveying the total sum of what happened and said, yeah, I guess I did. And you saw kind of the same look on Jerry's face 2 turns previous, where again he's surveying the board and it just is, you know, he's thinking to himself, how did we get to this spot based on the opening that I had?
One thing that game showed to me, which is something I've known for a while now, but it's nice to have a constant reminder, Deathrite Shaman is busted.
It is, well, fetch lands are busted, and Deathrite Shaman is a consequence of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, removing creatures and being able to drain was awesome that game, too.
Yeah, but that card never ends up in Jerry's deck unless he's playing with Misty Reinforced and Polluted Delta. It's all part of the same.
Yeah, all part of the buffalo, as you like to put it.
Yeah. Fetch lands do not get enough credit for their degeneracy because they are lands, so people kind of ignore them, but they are so powerful in high-powered formats because they're not just mana fixers. They do a million other things as well.
Let's not forget, next weekend, we are in Columbus, Ohio, Season 2 Invitational. We'll be punching 2 tickets to the Players' Championship at the end of the year. Chris Van Meter essentially has one locked up at this point. We got to punch one more. We'll be watching some players duke it out in our 16-round Invitational, along with a Standard Open and a Legacy Open to cover.
And, you know, I feel like once we have the Invitational done and those 2 opens, we're going to have a really firm concept of who the 8 people are that are in the running for the Players' Championship at the end of the year just on the 24-18 invites. I mean, it's obviously going to be more than 8 players that are in the running, but we're going to have a pretty solidified field, I feel like, competing at that point. And that's the other thing that's getting kind of lost in all this conversation about Ross's weekend and the potential to make history is he's really catapulted himself into that 2014 race.
Yeah, especially with a win here.
Yeah.
Even without the win, he's certainly in the conversation.
This was the weekend that Gerard was looking for to potentially catch CVN.
Yeah.
Where CVN had such an enormous lead, so.
Who knew someone else would be able to do it?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. Shiels and me, game number 3, momentarily. Winner of the match, Ross Merriam, gets to battle. Again, got to imagine Ross is observing somewhere around that match. We might not be able to see him there in the cameras, but I imagine he is somewhere here.
Our diligent reporter over the sideboard, Andrew Strout, doing his best to keep energy high at the table.
Yeah. We're getting late. I mean, these players have been playing for a while. Past 11 o'clock here on the East Coast.
Giving both players a taste of that Mid-South charm.
Absolutely. Kentucky's finest.
Yeah.
So Shiels will be on the play here. See if he finds a hand that he likes. He's got an Aetherfile over there. Not sure if he has white mana. He looks like he's happy. Me is happy as well. We're underway in game number 3. And there's the vial.
And there appears to be a lot of ports in Shiels' hand, so there's a ton of pressure on Jerry to have a Deathrite Shaman, I think, if he's going to be able to function.
You said there are a ton of ports, and there they are. 2 ports of Caracas, a Batterskull, and a Phyrexian Revoker.
And the Phyrexian Revoker creates another layer of complication now for Jerry because Dave can simply name Deathrite Shaman with that if Jerry has one.
This is one of the things that makes this deck quite powerful. The ability to mess with the mana. What I don't think me has right now, you see a Delver, there's a Dark Confidant, there's an Abrupt Decay, also a Maelstrom Pulse, there's a Thoughtseize, excuse me, as well. What I don't think he has is a Deathrite. Let's see, however, and he does, so never mind. Good to go.
Really important for Jerry to have that here.
Shiels going to put a counter on the vial, takes a draw. It's a plains, not really what he's looking for. Got plenty of lands to operate. See if Shiels wants to go after mana or cast a Revoker and take care of Deathrite Shaman.
Well, you're denying the same amount of mana this turn by porting. And there is some chance that there's no fetch land in Jerry's hand. So I like just porting this turn.
That's what he does, takes care of the Trop. However, you see the Verdant and the draw of a Ponder. So there is the fetch land. Down to 17, me goes. Gonna search out a land. We'll see what his turn 2 play is gonna be. Underground Sea is the land he chooses.
And Ross has some pretty good predictive abilities here. He's coming in the 2nd seed. Jerry is the 1st seed. And before the elimination rounds kicked off, he said to me, I think that I'm going to be on the draw in the finals. How sick is that?
It's called a pretty good read.
Pretty
That's
good
what
read.
that is. There's an Abrupt Decay to take down the file. Jerry knows just how powerful that card is against him. Shields with an untap. He'll take a draw. His vial is gone. His swords is drawn.
Swords is not a terrible draw here. Again, he just can't allow, for the time being, while he's waiting to draw action to really get his hand going, he just can't allow Jerry to have mana.
It's his job to cut it.
And keep in mind, Jerry's list only has 18 lands in it.
Wow. Revoker, perhaps? Yes. It's going to take care of Deathrite Shaman. And we'll pass the turn back over to me, who will take a draw. Gataxian Probe number 2. How about Thoughtseize number 1? Shields considering firing off the swords now in the Deathrite.
Definitely an argument for it.
And it looks like the answer is no, he's not going to do that. So Batterskull and Swords are the cards that can be taken. Plains and there's Schadenport are the cards that are left.
There's some amount of you're giving Jerry an option here, but he can always plow the Deathrite in response if something happens to the Revoker. And if Jerry wants to take the plow, that gives David the very natural sequence of untap, port you twice, turn 5, 5th land, Batterskull.
There's a Delver. Wonder if we just Swords the Delver here.
And critically, no land from Jerry.
Yeah, that makes me want to if I'm in Dave's seat. I can go Swords your Delver. I've got your Deathrite on lock.
Yeah. I mean, this is really good for David. I mean, he can attack here with the Revoker if he wants to offer up the trade.
And that's exactly what he's going to do. Deathrite will trade with that. I mean, that's a win either way.
Yeah.
And now here's the second port. That's a passing of the turn.
And Jerry is in legitimate trouble from this spot. I mean, he has no lands. I don't even know if he has 1-mana spells to operate with. And David's playing a deck with multiple wastelands, additional ports.
Yeah, the card that Jerry has in his hand is this one. It's Gataxian Probe to pay 2 life. See the 2 planes from Shields, but he's got to draw a land off this. Now, if he draws a land that can produce blue mana, things get a little bit different because he has a Ponder in his hand, and he just did. Wow, what a top deck. So now he can cast a Ponder, get deeper into his deck to try to find more lands. There's a Delver. That's an Abrupt Decay. I believe the third one is a fetch land.
Perfect for Jerry.
So the plan of Mana Denial has just been blown up.
And David has very little to work with. Now, that said, Shield still has some draws. Stoneforge Mystic especially can help pull him back into this. But he was really leaning on these Rashadan ports to give him the time to find some sort of action while Jerry was incapacitated. And it doesn't look like that's going to be a viable option for Shields anymore.
Yeah, I might have to take the port shield down now. Ponder going to keep. Already played a land, so not much doing on this turn. Me just going to pass the turn back over to Shields. Shields quickly takes a draw. Let's copy a Sarah Avenger. Not so bad. I'll give him a clock. The The question is, does he want to drop a Sarah Avenger this turn, or does he want to try to double port? You see him reaching. It looks like he wants to drop the creature.
He's got to get something going here. I mean, what he was trying to do to Jerry, again, no longer really an option now that he has that third land. And if he's pondered and he's kept, that means he either has a fourth land or he has something to do with 1 mana.
Port going to take care of the green mana there. Delver's Secret's the draw. Jerry knows the next card down as well. So he's going to play a Misty Rainforest. That's a Delver's Secrets. And we will sacrifice this Misty Rainforest. Me on the hunt for a land. It'll be a Trop. So the top card of the deck's a mystery now. It goes down to 13. Shiels at a healthy 20. But Shiels, again, looking for action. I can't tell you what the best draw is here for David. That'll be a Stoneforge Mystic or the GT.
Yeah.
That's far and away the best one. Take a draw. Rashad and Port.
The third port's not horrible.
No, not too bad. Not too bad.
I mean, again, Jerry's at 13, falling to 10. There's a Confidant in play. That could be some damage. These ports may keep Jerry pinned. There's a plan here.
I think you got to go after that black mana now. It looks like Dave's going to go after green mana. Another green. And now the black. With the Dark Confidant trigger on the stack, along with the Delver. We take a look. It's a Delver's Secrets.
That's
down to 9.
That's a big win for David.
Yeah.
I mean, now he's falling to 6 from the attack.
There's Deathrite to cause a little bit of trouble, though. Again, Stoneforge or GT is the best draw, I believe, in Shields' deck. He'll take a draw this turn. It's another Plains. In for 3 we go. Me down to 6. Shields going to play a land. He'll pass the turn back. It's time for some port shenanigans. First one takes down a Trop. Second one, a Trop. Third one, an Underground. Delver and Dark Confidant trigger. Doesn't do it again. This looks like game 2.
Oh, my God.
Deathrite going to put me down to 5. He will draw a card. Looks like it was running Deathrites that turn.
And I think that was really important there when Dave ported him for Jerry to at least strongly consider using one of those green mana for a Tropical Island to activate the Deathrite Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be worth more to gain 2 life there than it is to add a second Deathrite to the table. These 2 games are just, it's unbelievable what is going on here.
A draw. A Sarah Avenger.
An excellent draw for Shields. And he has the 8th land to cast it and port 3 times.
An attack for 2. Excuse me, 3 to put me down to 2. There's an Avenger. Pass the turn back. On the upkeep, Shields is looking at 3 ports. He flooded badly, but port has other text. Gonna tap a black.
I think now that Jerry's announced that he's floating mana, and he doesn't do anything with
Take
the
a look.
He didn't do.
It's a needle. It goes to 1.
It is not a land and not a spell. How's it even possible?
Now Shield says, all right, your Dark Confidant trigger is good, but I've still got some effects now.
Are you kidding me? How do you not flip the Delver there and take damage for like 3 straight turns?
He's going to go after the black.
This game is insane.
And now he's going to go after the Trop. Me still needs to draw for his turn. Make sure he draws for his turn. Assuming that, all that stuff, because he hasn't done that yet.
All right, so gains 2 this time, but each Sarah Avenger is still lethal.
So now he does draw for his turn. Each Avenger is lethal.
Are you kidding me?
That's a Stifle. You can't tell me that Delver doesn't flip. Me's at 3.
What on earth happened in this game?
Shields with 8 lands, play trying to hold on.
And it's possible he may not even be able to use the death right there. The play he may need to do is hope he draws Wasteland, which will allow his death rights to make enough mana to Maelstrom Pulse away both the Sarah Adventures.
I see we're offering up Dark Confidant again.
Nope.
Anyone interested in a deal? Apparently not. One. There's a needle. That's a little late to the party. That'll take care of Port.
Are you kidding me?
And what you can't see right now is in Jeremy's hand, he actually has a Maelstrom Pulse.
Yeah, no, it's just...
And that is
wow.
going to do it. David Shiels wins this match 2-1, and he is moving on to the finals.
Come on, Dave. You got to crack a smile after a game like that.